Conservatism. Introduction. In this study session, we shall be discussing a major political philosophy in the countries of Western Europe, namely conservatism. The study session is divided into two sections. Section 1 discusses the historical context within which conservatism emerged, while Section 2 discusses the ideas and principles associated with conservatism. When you have studied this session, you should be able to define and use correctly the keywords printed in bold letters. Highlight the historical circumstances that gave birth to conservatism as a major political philosophy. You should also be able to identify the major principles or ideas associated with conservatism as a political philosophy. The development of conservatism. The English philosopher Edmund Burke was the most famous philosopher of conservatism. It was not until Burke wrote his famous work, Reflections on the Revolution in France, that conservatism became a very important philosophy in the West. As the title of Burke's work suggests, the French Revolution of 1789 was an important factor in the development of conservatism. Indeed, the French Revolution was the most important single influence on the development of conservatism as a political philosophy. In his work, Burke condemned the French revolutionaries for assassinating a legitimate monarch, destroying the nobility, undermining religion, and breaking the loyalty of citizens to the government. Burke resented the French revolutionaries for destroying existing traditions and institutions which had survived for centuries. Burke feared that the French Revolution would turn into total anarchy, which would create conditions for the rise of arbitrary and violent dictatorship, and that this new dictatorship would spread to the rest of Europe. Apart from the French Revolution, two other events of the 18th century also helped to give birth to conservatism. These were the Industrial Revolution, which introduced man to new and sophisticated technologies, and the Enlightenment, which made reason, rather than tradition, the most important guide to human conduct. In reaction to these three forces of change in the 18th century, the French Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, and the Enlightenment, conservatism emerged as a philosophy which emphasized stability rather than change, and tradition rather than reason. Principles of conservatism. The following are some of the major ideas or principles associated with conservatism. The limited capacity of human reason. Conservatives were pessimistic about man's ability to improve his condition through the use of human reason. While not denying the importance of human reason, conservatives argued that it is dangerous for men to rely on it for understanding the nature of man and the nature of society, and for solution to all human problems. In short, conservatives believe that human reason is an imperfect guide to the analysis and solution of man's problems. The importance of traditional and existing institutions. Existing institutions and traditions are to be valued because they reflect the accumulated wisdom of the past. Any attempt to change or destroy existing practices or tradition will produce unpredictable and unfavorable consequences that are likely to bring great suffering and hardship to the people. Furthermore, a new institution can never be as valuable and effective as an old one. This is not to say that conservatives did not want changes at all. Indeed, conservatives argue that existing institutions and traditions must be adjusted to cope with new developments. Conservatives, however, insisted that new institutions or practices should be introduced after very careful reflection and discussion, and in an orderly rather than abrupt manner. Inequality. Conservatives believe that men were naturally unequal in most human qualities. These natural inequalities are responsible for differences in the properties and social status of individuals. Hence, a person who has greater property and status is naturally superior to another person who has little or no property and status. Conservatives also argue that all societies, through recorded history, have been characterized by inequality, and that it will be unwise for anyone to attempt to eliminate by force this inequality as the French revolutionaries did. The importance of private property. Like the classical liberals, conservatives emphasized the importance of private property. The conservatives believed that private property is an inalienable right of the individual, and that it is one of the most important factors that can be used to distinguish men of high character from those of low character. Government should not interfere with private ownership of property, but should defend and encourage property owners. The role of Enlightenment minority or aristocracy. Conservatives believe that social chaos would result if the masses were allowed to rule. Burke, in particular, argued that the well-governed society is one which few men of ability, property, and high birth ruled. Ability is necessary if government is to be efficient. Property is an important qualification for rulership, because if those who do not own property assume leadership, they are likely to attempt to deprive the wealthy of their property and thus disrupt the society. High birth of membership of the aristocracy or the middle class is important because it makes the ruler sensitive to his heritage and to the established traditions of society. People who are lower on the social scale, who are of low birth and do not have the ability or property, should willingly submit to the rulership of those who are higher on the social scale. Respect for religion. Conservatives believed in the value of religion and in the moral code which religion provides. According to the conservatives, stability in society must rest ultimately on man's faith in God and on his willingness to obey God's commandments. The many problems of human existence can be solved not by the use of human reason, but by relying on God and religion. Representative democracy. Conservatives did not oppose a democratic system of rule in which people would choose who will rule them. Burke, in particular, argued that the elected parliament was the proper governing agency of England. Burke, however, did not believe that the member of parliament should be bound by the wishes of those who elected them. He argued that while legislators should always consider the wishes of those who elected them in making decisions, they should not let such wishes prevent them from exercising their better judgment. As Burke puts it, while a member of the legislature ought to give a great weight to the wishes of his constituents, he ought never to sacrifice to them his unbiased opinion, his mature judgment, and his enlightened conscience. In this study session, we identified 7 principles of conservatism as a philosophy. Which of these principles are, in your opinion, reasonable and acceptable? Which of them would you consider unfair and unacceptable? What are the reasons for your answers? Post your response at eClassFaro. Study Session Summary. Conservatism developed as a reaction to 3 forces of change in the 18th century, that is, the French Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, and the Enlightenment. Its leading exponent was Edmund Burke, whose philosophy of conservatism was particularly influenced by what he regarded as the excesses of the French Revolution. Among the ideas or principles associated with conservatism as a philosophy are limited capacity of human reason, importance of traditions and institutions, the natural inequality of men, the importance of private property, the rule of the enlightened minority, respect for religion, and representative democracy. We have now come to the end of study session 4. Thank you for listening.